Okay, now let's move on to protein. So this is information from chapter 2 of your book, and we will go over just some basic protein needs and also basic protein functions in the body. Okay, now when we're thinking about protein, protein's kind of a craze right now. A lot of people wanting high protein diets. Does appeal to very diverse groups or a diverse set of people. You have your bodybuilders or your athletes who are wanting high protein. You're also wanting individuals who are trying to diet and have a lower carbohydrate diet, wanting high protein. And it does have some benefits that are promised with it, going with muscle gain, some weight loss, and okay, so let's talk about the structure of protein first. Okay, so we know that protein is made up of links of amino acid chains. Okay, they will be bounded by peptide bonds. Okay, between each amino acid. And there are four different structures that dictate the complete protein or the final protein that we get. Okay, so we first have our primary structure. Okay, and this is going to be those links of the amino. Now, let's talk about the function of protein. Now, we do know that protein is important to form major structural components of the body. Okay, this could be with muscle. We do know that one of its primary functions is to form our muscle tissue, but we also see it in the formation of structural components of the brain, the nervous system, our blood, skin, and also our hair. Those are all parts of the body that do have Okay, so let's talk about protein quality. Now, if you are wanting to use a high protein diet or wanting just to increase the amount of protein you get in your diet, you want to consider the protein quality just like we considered our carbohydrate quality. Now, when determining a protein's quality, we need to look at not only its amino acid concentration or its composition of amino acids, its digest. Now, also when we're talking about protein quality, we have to consider complete versus incomplete. Now, with our complete proteins, these are going to be those proteins that do contain all 9 of those essential amino acids. So you're getting the complete nutrient quality or nutrient value that you need when you're consuming a complete protein. Now, these are usually found in our animal products. Like I said earlier, animal products contain all 9 amino acids usually. Okay. Also, when looking at protein quality, we have to consider the protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, or also PDCAAS. Okay. Now, with our protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, this is one of our most widely accepted and widely used ways to measure protein quality. And basically what it does, it gives a score based on Now, when we're looking at protein as a performance enhancer, there are a few things that we need to discuss and keep in mind. Okay. Now, there are going to be various sources for protein as a performance enhancer, but one of the probably most common uses is the whey protein. Okay. Now, whey protein is basically, or whey in general, is basically what's left after milk has been curdled and strained. Now, casein. Casein is also going to be a animal product, okay? Casein is what gives milk its white color, and it will account for between 70 and 80% of milk protein. Okay. It is released when a micelle is broken down in the stomach, and we digest it via proteolysis. Now, proteolysis just basically means it's broken down into simpler soluble compounds. And then we have our soy protein that can also be used as a performance enhancer. Okay, now this is going to be our most widely used vegetable protein. And so any type of non-animal product protein powder, so not using the whey, not using casein, you're going to see it most likely as soy. Okay, again, it does include all of the essential amino acids, so we don't have to really worry about consuming those complementary proteins in this. Now, when we look at protein digestion and absorption in the body, okay, we see that once we get down to the stomach, as that protein gets into the stomach, gastrin is going to stimulate the release of hydrochloric acid. When this hydrochloric acid hits the protein, our proteins will be what we call denatured. Okay, so proteins are very sensitive macromolecules or macronutrients. And once metabolism. Okay, so we can have anabolism or we can have metabolism. Okay, so in the case of anabolism, this is when the body is building new tissues. So protein here is going to be utilized for the structuring of muscle tissues, for the structuring of our brain tissue, our nervous tissue, our enzymes. This is where we see proteins coming together and making So what are our general protein recommendations? Remember, we always want to spare protein and utilize carbohydrates for fuel. I can't stress that one enough. Now, the recommended dietary allowance, so the RDA, for the general population is around 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. Okay, so this is again that RDA, it's that minimum daily intake that's required for all healthy individuals so that we can maintain our muscle mass, so that we can maintain. Okay, so what are some benefits and risks of a high protein diet? Okay, again, we're not exactly sure of this exactly. There's still a little bit of uncertainty there, but research is underway to best understand what risks are associated with and the benefits that are associated with more protein. Okay, now again, above that 2.0 grams per kilogram, we don't really see any added benefits, and we can actually see some harm being done to the body, especially in relation to the Now, in relation to weight loss, we see that when we're looking at high protein, low carbohydrate diet, research does show that these are just as good for weight loss and health benefits, if not better in some cases than the standard recommendation of a low fat, high carb diet. Okay, we do see similar trends coming across. Again, that initial weight loss will be due to that diuretic effect. So having that lower carbohydrate, emptying those glycogen stores, and having that water follow. Now, in looking at athletic performance, it is recommended that athletes have an appropriate amount of protein post-exercise as well as immediately before exercise because, again, we want to encourage muscle resynthesis. Okay. Now, with this amount of protein, we do recommend carbohydrates with it. Okay. So we need about 6 to 20 grams of protein consumed with about 3 to 40 grams of carbohydrate within 3 hours. Now, in relation to vegetarianism, okay, a lot of individuals question, can an athlete be a vegetarian? Absolutely, okay. Again, we do have plant products that contain protein. So as long as an individual is consuming those complete proteins or those complementary proteins, they will be receiving all of the protein that they need. Now, some vegetarians can be lacto-ovo vegetarians where they would consume Now, a lot of athletes will probably ask about supplementation, and this has become a very popular means of increasing our protein intake over the years. Now, it can be, consuming that protein powder or that isolate as a whole, as a supplement, or it could be even supplementing with specific amino acids. Okay, so maybe getting some of that leucine in there, or maybe getting, one of the other amino acids. However, when Now, just to review everything we've discussed about proteins, always looking at that protein quality. It's going to vary depending on what protein you're consuming. So making sure that we're evaluating complete versus incomplete proteins. If it is an incomplete protein, making sure that we are getting those complementary proteins in to make sure that we have all 9 essential amino acids. Right, okay, be careful of the amount of fat and calories in certain proteins. It's not just gonna be